Now we have the presentation of the hakule, which is in front of us, made in the traditional Hawaiian style by our volunteers, Brenda Ryan being one of them, helping us put it together. And we also have another hakule, the other half, at the Vietnam War Memorial. And also I'd like to note that we have kukui nuts on the Medal of Honor winners, or medal honorees, for the Korean War and the Vietnam War. So if you want to get up after the ceremony, you can see who these, the names of these young men that gave their life. We have a special speaker, Mr. Chair, Song Myung Won, son of the late Admiral Song Won, the founder of the Republic of the Korean Navy. He's a former president of the Hyundai Mipo Dockyard Company, former CEO of SsangYong Motor, former executive vice president of Hyundai Industries Company Limited. Chairman.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me, part of this 72nd anniversary of the Korean War Armistice. I am grateful to the God that I can stand here and deliver the message to those people who are not here, that we cannot see, but they are here with us. I'm glad that I'm strong enough or healthy enough to tell you what happened 75 years ago. 75 years ago, September, I saw my father going to my grandmother's room, and he had a big bow, Korean style big bow. That means you put your knee on the ground and then put your head on the ground. You do that type of a bow maybe during the January 1st or grandmother's birthday. But this is not a January 1st or birthday. He was having a big bow to my grandmother. So we are wondering, why is he doing this? This is 75 years ago, September 1950. Then he came out from the room and he told us, okay, I'll be going away for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So be healthy, we'll see you soon. I didn't know where he was going. But later we found out he was part of the Incheon landing with General MacArthur. When General MacArthur decided to land on Incheon, it was top secret. Didn't tell anybody except a few people who were involved with the Incheon landing. That message came to my father. He said, all right, get rid of the North Koreans in the islands near Incheon port. There's 3 islands near. So he was assigned Captain Han to make sure there's no North Koreans army go against our landing forces or let them know everybody that we are invading. So that was the assignment given to the Korean Navy Special Force. It was done. One of the requirements, September 15th night at 12 o'clock, turn the lights on in Palmido Lighthouse. That indicates, okay, everything is clear. Now you can start the landing. General MacArthur invited 7 nations Navy, altogether 240, some people said 260 ships came to that Incheon landing to land. Now, 264 ships coming into the Incheon obviously will notify North Korea this is the UN forces are landing. However, to avoid this notice, they were bombing it, Pohang, Gunsan, and Incheon, the three places. So the North Korea were not sure, are they coming from to the Gunsan or coming from Pohang? But anyway, that night, the special force, after they cleared the three islands, they came to this Pamido lighthouse, turned the lights on, and it stopped coming on. Something went wrong with the lighthouse. So if the light doesn't come, the landing doesn't start. So this special force tried to find what was wrong. In about 1 hour, they found what was wrong. So they turned the lights on about 5 minutes after midnight. So the light came on. General MacArthur's troops, they come in, and then eventually they saw the lights, and the aircraft carriers sending the airplane to bomb the engine. So the bomb starts September 15th, early in the morning. Now, and when the light came on, now the landing force, Marines, Korean Marine, U.S. Marine, armies, they are getting on the landing craft and getting on the land. And my father, up to that point, he was trying to hold Marines and even on the ship, didn't know where they are. They announced it. This is Incheon. So they announced it to all the Marines who are waiting on the ship, and that they can't come on the land. So my father, after he announced it, he already talked with the Navy admirals, the USA Navy admirals. So he got on the landing craft with the Marines. So some people joked and say there was among 20 years old Marine, there was one guy with eyeglasses, looked like a 40 years old. He was on landing craft with the and then he got on to Olmido Lake. So General MacArthur, after he saw, he wanted to talk to the Korean, head of the Korean Armed Forces, was looking for Admiral Song. Yes, Admiral Song is not there. Where is he? And then they found he was on the Olmido already, landing. So General MacArthur was very happy. He came to the land, and then he gave, this is what he said, I want to give a Silver Star decoration to special force who turned the lights on one with the lighthouse. Also like to give Silver Star to the former Navy head, Korean Navy, Seattle, and also head of the Korean Marine. So that was the beginning in China. They occupied Seoul after that. This is part of what's going on in the Korean War. And while this war was going on in Busan, I was 9 years old. And Korean Navy started a Korean children's choir, aged from 8 years old to 12 years old. I was one of them, and my mother asked me, why don't you join the Navy children's choir? So our main job was visiting the hospitals and sing or trying to comfort them with just whatever we can sing. So that was the part of the Korean children's choir, or Navy children's choir. This became kind of well known, and after the Korean War, after this Armistice signed 1953, 1954, Korea was divested. So they wanted to reconstruct the Korea. We needed funds. So somebody thought of, why don't we send Korean children's choir to the USA? See what happened. So Syngman Lee, President of Korea, and General Ben Fleet, he was 8th Army, head of the 8th Army. They agreed and he was at that time Korean American Foundation president of Korean War. So General Van Fleet and the President Lee agreed to send Korean Children's Choir to USA. We were totally 25 members. We went to states. We visited 45 cities, performed 240 times during the 3 months. Target to raise was $20 million. $20 million by this children's choir. I heard we achieved that goal and we overachieved that goal. In 3 months, the children's choir visited, and I remember when we entered some of the hotels, people were waiting. When we sing, some people will cry. I think partially because their sons and daughters, their sons were part of this man's year. They went to Korea and they sacrificed their life. So part of the Korean Children's Choir reminded them these stories, what happened during the war. Well, it seems like it's too much of the family stories, but Armistice, 1953, Korean War Armistice, has a lot of relationship to the Koreans. So my father, as I mentioned, he was a CNO, Chief of Navy of Korea. President Lee asked him to become a Minister of Defense. And he said, no, I do not want to be Minister of Defense until we finish, until we stop the war. Until then, he wanted to be in the Navy. So he was head of the Navy until 1953 when this treaty was signed. Then President asked, can you be now defense? Yes. So he became a defense minister in 1953 after this treaty was signed. Now, instead of just the Navy, now he's in charge of Navy, Army, and Air Force. So, right after Korean War, we are totally defense. We do not, armed forces do not have the weapons to save. So he came to USA, went to Washington, agreed the U.S. government to allocate $700 million to the military support to Korea. So they buy tank, now they buy ships, and they buy airplanes to reinforce, to rebuild Korea, the armed forces. But 3 years later, he retired. And then he became Korean first ambassador to Germany. And that was when I was 16 years old. He became an ambassador to Germany. So until that time, I did not have mother and father in our house. Father was there, but we never had a dinner together. You can imagine 1945, he started Korean Navy. 1948 was independent. So now he set up the armed forces in the southern part of the Korea. It was going back and forth. And then 1950, Korean War started. After the Korean War, we hardly saw until September when we bowed to the ground. So this was a life that okay, father is here, but not really having a dinner together. But when we went to Germany, all of a sudden we see father, mother, all the brothers and sisters. We have a meals together, dinner, breakfast, and weekend we are going out in the car or the truck. For the first time in my life, I felt the family. Hey, this is a family. And about 1 year after that, my father told me, son, I'm going to support you only until 8 years. After that, you will be independent. You will be independent. So I said, okay, maybe he's trying to tell me, be careful, study hard. But my brother said, hey, brother, 18 means you're a freshman in college. How can you be independent? How can you support yourself? So I said, okay, let's ask. So next morning I asked my father, what do you mean by independent 18 years old? He said, when you live in 17 years, you go to state, you decide which college you go. You decide what to wear, what to eat, whatever. Most of these decisions you make. You're independent. He didn't tell me financially how to be also independent. But he planted the seed. The man had to be independent. 18 years old or 22 years old, doesn't matter. You have to be independent. That was the message he gave me when I was 16. So that morning I said, can you help us until 22 when I graduate college? He said, okay. I helped you until 22. But whether 22 or 18, his message is very clear. You will be independent. So that feeling, the man had to be independent. The seed was planted in my heart when I was 16. So as soon as the college started, I started working part-time, full-time, and I found earning money is not that difficult. I work, they pay $1.25 per hour, and with that, I don't have any problem eating. I can find my place to sleep. So that was the seed that my father planted in my heart. You have to be independent. It was very, very good advice for me at the early age. So that was the beginning of, so after the college, I worked hard and I got in California, professional engineer license in California, New York State, and in Maryland. So I was doing independent work with wrestling house, and eventually in 1974, I started my own engineering company. 1980, 6 years later, I got a phone call from my mother and said, son, come right away. Your father not to go. I flew back to Korea. And I stayed with my father for 3 days. And after that, he passed away. He told me, son, now you come back to Korea, take care of your mother. So I didn't say anything against him. I said, yes, father. And I decided, and I told my wife, hey, we are moving to Korea. But tell the truth, I don't have any experience in working in Korea. I don't have any jobs to go to. But I know I have to be in Korea. That was the major decision. And then during the engineering company that I operated in the U.S., I had the construction company doing work in Saudi Arabia asked me to design their transmission towers. I did that. So that, I remember that, so I called the guys up and they said, okay, why don't you go to Hyundai Construction? Ask, what can you do in the future? So then I went to Hyundai Construction and then they asked me to bring a resume. I did, and I was hired by the Hyundai Construction. With the construction, I went to Hyundai Construction, the Hyundai Heavy Industries, and I started a totally new businesses in Hyundai Heavy Industries. The reason I'm telling you doing this is that Korea was able to go international. Why did it happen? Because of 1953 mutual defense treaties between U.S. and Korea that allowed Korea to work hard among ourselves without worrying North Korea can invade anything. U.S. armed forces at that time, 50,000, was at 38 level. So in case North Korea want to come down, they have to challenge the U.S. That is, you are declaring war against the U.S. before they can come down to the side. So this is one of the reasons why we are safe, we can work ourselves, and we became from nothing. As you mentioned before, we had a UN registered 140, 1954, 140 countries, we were one of the 39. We were the most poorest countries in the world. In 70 years today, what happened? We are top 10 in the world. from the bottom of the economy, it became a top 10 economy. This was partially because 1013am U.S. Armed Forces protected us. And anybody who wants to come into Korea, they are challenging the strong G1 country as their enemy. Because of that, we were able to go. So when I was in Hyundai, when I was in Solar Motor Company, I got very respect. So now, as a corporate, I'm very happy to be part of this Armistice Treaty Day, memory of the 72 years and the 31 years of Vietnam. And this is a part of, I would say, the mutual defense treaty, but it was treaty of love. Treaty that we respect each other, we're willing to help each other for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.